Hello everyone, it's Rain, and we're back with another Commander update. I'm here to play with another one. I have the Tawnos The Toymaker deck here, and it's a relatively one of my new decks. It's a fun one though. It's a blue-green deck, as you can see, with whenever you cast a beast or bird creature spell, you may copy it, except this copy is an artifact in addition to its other types. So for this one, I called it the Beastfact. You could call it Birds and Bees Fact, but essentially it's generation of tokens and artifacts. Mostly so centered around birds and bees. So with that said, we are going to go straight into the Planeswalker because we only have the one. Jiang Yanggu Wildcrafter. He's a 2-cost with a green. And has each creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it, has add 1 mana of any color. And it has a down trigger, put a 1/1 counter on target creature. Doesn't have the up trigger, just the down, which is kind of unfortunate, but does help out in a lot of ways. Before I get into the beasts and I get into the birds, I have some supporting creatures here. The first one is this one. I like it. Perplexing Chimera. It's an enchantment creature chimera. You cost 4 and 1 blue. And whenever an opponent casts a spell, you may exchange control of Perplexing Chimera and that spell. If you do, you may choose new targets for that spell. It's a lovely little thing that allows you to actually really mess with other people and cause them to have some issues and trust issues with you. We also have the Pollenbright Druid. This one's here to give us some proliferate and add +1/1 counters on target creatures. It's very nice and useful. We also have the Faerie Artisans. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under my opponent's control, create a tokenless copy of that creature, except it's an artifact in addition to its other types. And then exile all other tokens created with a Faerie Artisan. This is really useful because when you actually have this come into the field, if you have an opponent who likes to bring out big things and attack immediately, you get a copy of said big thing and block it right back. We also have Traxos, Scourge of Krug, with Trample, and when it enters, the battlefield tapped and doesn't untap during your untapped step, but it does untap when you cast a historic spell. So, has some room for that one. Kind of there just as a wall when you actually get it out. We also have Filigree Attendant. This is one of the ways that we capitalize on our artifacts, giving it a lot of growth so we can hit enemies behind the fact. This one's kind of just for the lulz. Kitesail Larcenist. Flying Ward 1. When it enters the battlefield, for each player, choose up to one other target artifact or creature that player controls. Then as long as this remains on the battlefield, the chosen permanent becomes treasure artifacts with tap and sack. This one's also kind of another one of those ultra obnoxious octopuses. Just kind of there to help mess with people. It's a 2-cost, and whenever you cast a non-creature spell, if at least 4 mana was spent to cast it, tap target creature an opponent controls and put a stun counter, or if it had at least 8, put 8 1/1 counters on it. Essentially get it out for a small cost and get a whole bunch of boost on it. And then the last of the non-birds is the Archetype of Imagination. Creatures I control have flying and my opponents lose flying, can't have it. Essentially, allows our birds and beasts to get over defenses and absolutely wreck some shop. And now we're going to go into said beasts. We're just going to start on the top of the stack just because it's right nice in there. We have the Icecave Crasher with Trample and Landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, this beast gets 1/1/0 until end of turn. And you're going to find most of our beasts and birds are nothing really special, but their abilities, when you get a bunch of them, can help out a little bit, and also they can be annoying in their own right, especially when you get multiple copies of the creature. Grand Pulse Ochu, 1 cost with Death Touch, and then you can pay 8, and then this creature, until end of turn, gets +1/+1 for each permanent card in your graveyard. And you can make it real nice and big, depending on how much you have. And then we have the Fungal Colossus, 6/+1 green. This spell costs X less to cast, where X is the number of different named lands you control. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of different type lands. We do have a bunch of forests and islands and a couple of guild gates and a couple of fun things like this. But most of this is going to be this. I do have some specialty lands that I did pull aside. So at most, we're going to have maybe a -5 to that, depending on how we get for our pulls. And then we have the Rampaging Baloths, a 4/+2 green, trample landfall, and he creates a 4/4 green creature token with each landfall, which is also really nice because if we get this with our commander, we double our token generation. Then we get Vexing Gull, Flying Flash, comes in, creates a couple of little birds that we can use to block or to attack. We have our Vigilant Baloth, gives us Vigilance and 5/5. Nice defender, especially when you get 2. You're going to see a lot of flying in this deck. Trygon Predator, flying. Whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, you may destroy target artifact or enchantment that player controls. Again, kind of just there to hassle and annoy people. We have the Screeching Silcaw, our flying metalcraft. Whenever Screeching Silcaw deals combat damage to a player, if you control 3 or more artifacts, the player puts the top 4 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. So, another one where we have our commander out. A whole bunch of these are coming in as artifacts, so Metalcraft is going to kick off real easy. Then we have Nylea's Forerunner, Trample. Other creatures you control have Trample, giving us a whole bunch of more abilities. We have the Monastery Flock, Defender flying with Morph. Nothing really too bad. It's just there to keep and eat some blockers. We have the Clinquant Skymage, Bird Wizard with flying 1/1, and whenever you draw a card, put a 1/1 counter on this creature. It can grow really nice. We have Bartz and Boko, a nice human bird, 3 with 2 green, with affinity for birds. The spell costs 1 less to cast for each bird you control. So eventually, this will just be a 2 green cost because we have a whole bunch of birds. And when they enter, each other bird you control deals damage equal to the number of, deals damage equal to his power to target creature an opponent controls. So you can do a whole bunch of damage to people when this comes in, especially in this deck. We have the Coliseum Behemoth. We get ourselves some more trample, and when this creature enters, choose 1, destroy a target artifact or enchantment, and or give us some card draw. We also have the Krosan Tusker with cycling, and when it enters, or when you cycle, you may search your library for a basic land card, reveal it. So basically, cycle, and when you do cycle it, you get an additional card for land. And then we have Nessian Demolok with Tribute 3. Again, nothing too crazy. This one's funny because you get 2 copies with your commander, both getting Tribute 3. And if the tribute wasn't paid, you get to destroy a target non-creature permanent. So you either get 2 nice 6/6 or you get to destroy 2 non-creature permanents. And I did miss 2 birds. We have 3 Thieving Magpie. Gets to do flying 1/3 with whenever Thieving Magpie deals damage to an opponent, draw a card. And then summon Fat Chocobo, which allows us to create a Chocobo token and gives us trample until end of turn. So those are the creatures of the deck. I mean, there's a couple other things here. We're going to hop into the artifacts. technically, we have one more creature, Pinnacle Kill-Ship. It's an artifact spaceship, and then when it enters, it deals 10 damage to up to one target creature, and also has Station, which allows us to have a flying 7/7. And then we have Forebearer's Blade. Equipped creature gets +3/+0 and has Vigilance and Trample. And whenever equipped creature dies, attach Forebearer's Blade to target creature you control. So it always passes along and just helps boost up people. We have a mana rock, Letter of Acceptance, add 1 mana of any color, and pay 2 and sack Letter of Acceptance to draw a card. We got ourselves some brass knuckles for those extra fisticuffs. When you cast a spell, copy it. Equipped creature has double strike as long as it has 2 or more equipment are attached to it. And it has a 1/1 cost to equip, so either you get 2, put 1 on each hand, and start a swinging. Or you pair it with the Assassin's Gauntlet. And when it enters the battlefield, attach it up to 1 target creature you control, tap all creatures target opponent controls, and equipped creature gets a +1/+1 and has whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card, then discard a card. As you can see, it is a nice, lovely foil. And then we also have this one that paired as well with artifacts. Excalibur, Sword of Eden. This spell costs X less to cast, where X is the total mana value of historic permanents you control. Artifacts, legendaries, and sagas are historic. Equipped creature gets +10/+0 and has Vigilance, and equipped to a legendary creature for 2. Then we have Ubiquitous. It's rude, it's just here to make other people hate me. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player may pay 2 life. If they don't, they return a permanent they control to its owner's hand. Just there to annoy. And then we have Wizard Spellbook. Has exile target instant or sorcery from a graveyard, roll a d20, activate only as a sorcery. And then it has all of the abilities. I get to copy the card, I may cast the copy. I get to cast the copy, copy the card, cast the copy by paying 1 rather than its mana cost, or copy each card exiled with a Wizard Spellbook. You may cast any number of the copies without paying their mana cost, which is lovely. I wish it infected enchantments well, because there's some really lovely ones. I'm going to put this here just so everyone can remind themselves of this and see it off to the side in its own separate pile. Then we're going to hop into the cards that it can affect. We have ourselves a Self-Reflection. Create a token that's a copy of target creature you control, where if you mix it with that Wizard's spellbook, really broken combo. It also has a flashback. You may cast this card from your graveyard for its flashback cost and then exile it. We also have Vivisection. As an additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice a monster or creature, draw 3 cards. We have Cultivate for the mana pull. And we also have Carnivorous Canopy to destroy target artifacts, enchantments, or creatures with flying. If that permanent mana value is 3 or less, proliferate. It's nice because you can destroy something and get a whole bunch of boosts to it as well. We also have Threats Undetected in a foil. Oop. You can kind of see it. Search your library for up to 4 creature cards with different powers and reveal them. An opponent chooses 2 of those cards, shuffle the chosen cards into your library, and put the rest into your hand. We also have Overwhelming Stampede. Till end of turn, creatures you control gain Trample and +X/+X, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. As you've seen, we don't have anything too crazy, but depending on how the build goes, it can get out of hand. We also have Chocobo Kick. With a kicker, return a line you control to its owner's hand. And target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature an opponent controls. If the spell is kicked, the creature you control deals twice that much damage instead. Again, mixed with the spellbook. Lovely. And then finally, we have Howl of the Night Pack. Put a 2/2 green wolf creature token onto the battlefield for each forest you control. When you actually pair that up with some of these, those go real nice and hard. Then we also have Sycophant, an X blue cost, counter target spell unless the controller pays X. If the spell is countered this way, exile it instead of putting it into the owner's graveyard. It's lovely because it messes with people and has that 0 cost or more cost. We have Crypsis. Target creature you control gains protection from creatures your opponent controls until end of turn. Untap it. Helps you when you want to do some stuff to your opponent, especially with some of those that have triggers that affect when it hits. Obviously, we have counter spell and cancel for the counters. We have a defabricate foil for choose one, counter target artifact or enchantment spell. Exile it instead of putting it into the graveyard. And counter target artifact or activated or triggered ability. We have Back to Nature, destroy all enchantments. Or counter target spell and or tap up to 2 target creatures with a Urza's rebuff. We have for land draw, High Tide to give us some additional blues every time you play an island. Or Harrow, sack a land and search your library for 2 basic lands and put them onto the battlefield. We also have Mystic Reflection, which again goes really hard with that Wizard's Spellbook. Choose target non-legendary creature. The next time one or more creatures or planeswalkers enter the battlefield this turn, they enter as copies of the chosen creature. It's nice and disrespectful too. We also have the Mortal's Resolve. Target creature gets +1/+1 and gains indestructible until end of turn. Aetherize Foil to return all attacking creatures to their owner's hand. Lull to prevent all damage or cycle. We have a Disdainful Stroke to counter target spell with mana value 4 or greater, because why not? A Scatter Ray to also counter for target artifact or creature spell unless its controller pays 4. And then finally, Divert Disaster, counter target spell unless its controller pays 2. If they do, you create a lander token. So, a lot of counter spells, all of which can get exiled, and all of which will go into the Wizard's Spellbook if allowed. Before we hop on to the enchantments, we are going to show the last of the lands. We have a Path of Ancestry, very self-explanatory. Same with the Terramorphic Expanse. Really like the artwork on that one. We also have Evolving Wilds, which is just like the last one, very self-explanatory. Then we have the Maze of Ith, which I found has helped us more times than I can count. It allows you to untap target attacking creature, prevent all combat damage that would be dealt, and dealt 2 and bye that creature. We have a Secluded Starforge for colorless mana. Tap X untapped artifacts you control. Target creature gets X+0 until end of turn. And then you also have create a 2/2 colorless robot artifact creature token for more artifact control. And then we have a foil Hall of Tangson for another colorless pay 1 add 1 mana of any color, or pay 4 and create a tapped Power Stone token. Mostly just to get us some more artifacts. Then lastly, we have the enchantments. These are some fun ones. Wish they also affected this Wizard's Spellbook, but they don't. We have a Wild Growth with 1 enchant land. Whenever enchanted land is tapped for mana, it gets an additional green. Another little troll, we have a Witness Protection to make enchanted creature lose all abilities, and this green-white citizen creature with base power and toughness 1/1 named Legitimate Business Person. We also have Efficient Construction. Whenever you cast an artifact spell, create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying. Or So Shiny. When it enters the battlefield, if you control a token, tap enchanted creature, then scry 2. Enchanted creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. We also have a Master Chef which allows this creature enters the battlefield with an additional 1/1, and other creatures enter the battlefield with an additional 1/1 counter on them to give us all of the +1/1 counters we need for the proliferates. We also have the EU Social Engineering, which has landfall, and whenever a land you control enters, create a 2/2 colorless robot, artifact, creature token, and warp 1. You may cast this card from your hand for its warp cost, exile this enchantment at the beginning of your next end step, and then you may cast it from exile on a later turn. And then finally, we have a propaganda. Creatures can attack you unless their controller pays 2 for each creature they control that's attacking you. Just to make it so that everyone doesn't and can't. It would be great if I could use that with the Wizard Spellbook, but that would be absolutely broken, and that would be great. And that, my friends, is the Tawnos The Toymaker Beastfact deck. If you want to see more, we are posting more content every day. I will put the deck build down in the description. And if there's any questions or concerns, throw it into the comments. Any build requests or any build tips, also throw them in the comments. We appreciate y'all and hope you have a great day. See you next time.